Hi guys, in today's tutorial we will see what is hooks in React.js. So first of all, let me tell you that it is a new feature added in the React.js. So in the early part of React.js it was not added, but after by some reasons it was added. And first of all, let me tell you that what was the reason. Because of this reason it was added in React.js. So let me create it a practical example that why we needed hooks in React.js. First of all, I'm going to create a component which is known as app component. So I will import here CSS file that I have created already, and I will show you index.css, and here I have also import app from. Here I have app. This is basically the folder that I have imported, which is I created right now. So I have to render this app folder here. Control S, and let me move in my main component. First of all, I have to import React in this component. React from React. So I have imported the React component, and here first of all I have to create a function const. Here I am taking app is equal to, and here I am using fat arrow function that I have explained in my early part of this tutorial. So first of all, let me tell you that why we needed basically hook in React.js. And here I have to export this component default app. So here I am just going to write, first of all I have to write one button and one heading h1 tag, and inside h1 tag I am writing, first of all I am taking a component here which is a var type, where value is equal to 1. This is basically a JavaScript value that I have assigned a variable to 1. So here I am going to write this value. So here I have to take a button type, button, and here I have to close it. Click me. Let me see what is the error. Basically we have to write here fragment, which is known as React fragment. Control X, and I have to paste all the code here. Control S, and let me move on the screen. Default app value h1 tag, and here I have a button. Basically this function have to return here, because these values are returning by that function, and the returned value by that function would be displayed in index page. Control X, and here I gonna paste all this code. Control V, and now you can see that when this function is called, this function would return that code which is in React fragments. And here this function is exported as well. Control S, and let me show you the output. And you can see that it is looking like that. And you might be thinking that how this color came in such a way, and button and the design of h1 tag. And let me tell you that I have created all the index.css file here. And let me show you what is the basically CSS code that I have written. First of all, you can see that we have a button, and the code for button is all that, which is a CSS code. And here we have a div, and this div have such a CSS. So this was basically the output here. First of all, let me tell you that why we needed hooks in React.js. Here I am just calling a function. When it is on clicked, we have a function, and I am going to take the function inside that app component. Basically this is the app function now. So here I am taking just a function, and I am giving the name of fun, and here I have to write curly braces, and inside this on click I am just writing fun. Now this function is called inside this code, and here when this function is called, it would make increment value +1. You can have value ++, Control S, and when I would click here, you can see that the value is still not changed. It is a static variable. And now the time came to understand why we needed hooks in React.js. So you can see that in other languages like C++ or any other language, first of all we have a value which is declared globally, and we have assigned a value of 1 to this value variable. And here in this function I am making an increment of this value, but you can see that globally its value is not changed, but its value is only changed by that function. And inside this function, basically this value is only locally incremented, not globally incremented. But in other languages we had it globally incremented. That's why we needed hooks in React.js. And I will tell you in the later part of this video that how can we use hooks in React.js. First of all, you have to point out the reason why we need hooks in React.js. So first of all, let me tell you that if the function is being called or not, when we click on that button, console.log, and here in this log we have to write just a variable clicked, and whenever this function is clicked or this function is called by that button which is basically on clicked, and when we click on that button this function would be called, and when this function is called it will show console.log, Control S, and let me show you the output. Is it calling the function or not? So I have to move in console, and here when I click on that button you can see that it is showing clicked, and when I again click on that button you will see that it is clicked 2 times, and whenever I press on this button you can see that it is incremented as 1. So this was all. Whenever we click on that button or we call that function, it will show every time console.log basically it is showing, so it will show click. This was the basically function. And let me tell you, is the value of this variable which is known as value is incremented or not. So let me also display here. I'm just writing a value variable which is you can say that globally its value is 1, but inside this function this value is incremented by 1 at every time. Control S, and let me again move, and let me tell you that is the value of this variable known as value is incremented or not. You can see that here it is showing 2, and when I click here it is showing 3, and when I click here you can see that every time it is incremented by 1, but you can see that at global it is still 1 and it is not changed globally but only locally. This was the flaw of React.js. And what was basically the alternative of that reason? We had hooks, and now let me tell you what is basically hooks and how can we use it. I have tell you that why we needed hooks, and you can see that this value is only locally incremented, but globally its value is only 1, which was a demerit of our React.js. And now let me tell you that how can we use hooks and what is basically hooks. First of all, let me tell you with the help of example here. I am just going to explain hooks. First of all, I have a const type, and here I have an array. You can say it's like array sign, and in this array we have basically two variables. You can say first and set first is equal to, and here I have to write useState, and inside useState we have any value. First of all, let me tell you that what is this and how is it working. Whenever this first variable and this set first, we have basically two variables here, and here I am just passing as 1, and now in this useState I have passed only 1, and the value of this first is now 1 because of this useState. Basically this useState initializes the value, and the initialized value is as first variable, and it has an updated version which is basically the set first. Now let me tell you what is the updated value. Set first, and I have to make it as function, and I am just writing here like if I talk about upper value. So let me show you the alternative of this upper value that I had told you that it is not globally value incremented. And here you can see we have value plus plus, and inside this set first we can write value plus plus. Now you will see that every time the value of this first variable is incremented by 1 when we use this function set. Basically this is the updated value, and whenever we use this function we will basically update the value of this variable which is known as first, and this is the initialized value of first. If we have like 1, now its value is 1, and set first is empty, and whenever we call this set first and inside this set first we pass any value, this value is updated now, and this value is assigned now to this first variable. This was basically the concept of hooks. So let me tell you that how can we use here the hooks. Basically first of all you have to keep one thing in mind, that this hooks basically is always used globally, you can say, and inside the function of that component. I am just writing here this const hooks, and I am going to copy it, and here I am going to paste it. Now you can see that the value of first variable, which is known as just a variable, now the value of this first variable is assigned as 1. As you can see that this is the initial value of this first variable, and which is assigned as by useState. Basically the full name of hooks is useState hooks in React.js. So This was basically the useState which we have used, and this was the hooks parameter. Hooks and useState, this is combined topic. So first of all, let me show you that is it working. Let me create here as value that we have same as we were working, and here I am just writing set value, and now to this value the variable as 1 is assigned, and whenever this function is called, this value is incremented by 1, but this was the flaw of it was only locally incremented, so we don't need it now. We have to just write set value, and inside set value we have to write value plus plus control S, and you can see that the initialized value of this variable is 1, and whenever this function is called, the value of this variable is updated by 1. Now this updated value is assigned to that variable, and it is also globally working as well as locally. So let me make it as comment. This was just a hint that is the function is working or how the value locally or globally changing basically. And here I have created all the code. Let me show you is it working or not. First of all, you can see that we have an error, set first is not defined. So let me check set value, the name is same, and what is the error, let me see, value VALUE, the spellings are still same, but there is an error. Set value is not defined. Set first basically is not defined. So let me check where is I have written set first. What is the line basically? In app.jsx at line 27 set first. Let me see where is, oh, this was just a hint that I have told you that how can we use it, and it was all about explanation of hooks. And now when I click here, you can see that the value is globally incremented, and this value is basically showing here in h1 tag, and it is incremented as well as locally and globally, and you can see that every time it is incremented by 1 as I have updated the value of this variable as 1. And let me make a difference. If I take here increment of 5, control S, and you can see that every time the value is incremented by 5. This was the power of hooks that we used in React.js. And before this hooks, we had to use classes and constructors, and this was a lot of code. And basically because of this a lot of code, the developers used hooks in React.js, and it is a simple way to use and update the values. What if I use this hooks inside that function, control X, and you will see that we have an error basically. Control S, and let me show you, and you can see that we have an error. React hooks useState is called in function fun, that is neither a React function or component, neither a custom hooks function. React component names must start with an uppercase. Basically this is nothing but just the main thing that is showing here, that is called in function, that is neither a React function component. Basically this is the point, that this is this function in which I have called or I have used useState is basically not the component of React.js. It is just a function inside that component. So I have to use only this hooks outside in the main function that I have created of that component. So let me again crop it and paste it as in my main function, which is of that component. And let me create a shortcode so that you might understand clearly. And let me remove all the lines and make the code as much as possible brief. And you can see that this is a shortcode, and this was the power of hooks, that we have basically a value, and this value is assigned by that useState, and the set value is basically the updated value, and whenever we update by the set value, no, the value of that value variable is changed because of set value. And let me tell you that what is basically the hooks and hooks structure in React.js. I hope you are still confused. First of all, let me tell you that it is nothing but just, you can say, that array destructuring. So let me have an example of hooks in React.js. First of all, I have a const variable name is equal to, I am just writing here a name as en. Here I have a comma, gr, and here I have again comma, and I am just passing the values to that array. We have to write in single quotation or double quotation. So you can see that now all these values are assigned to that variable which is known as name. And now what if I need the third, you can say third number value? Basically this is not a value, you can say that this is just a name. We have passed name 1, 2, 3 and 4. And what if I call the index 3? How can I call index 3? And you can see that no, this index 3 variable is called here, and now this value is basically WAL, which is a name. And you can see that in other components like control X, in other components are at the end of that function, or after a lot of code we have to use that name 3. Now I will be confused that what is basically name 3. Then I will move again to my code and array, and I will see what is basically the name 3 here. I don't know what is name 3. So now what is basically the array destructuring, how this array is made easy. First of all, let me create const, and I have here name1, name2, name3, and name4 is equal to name. Now what happened basically, whenever I need this first name, after a lot of code, you can have any value, it's up to you, but this first value is basically assigning to that first variable, and the second value is assigned to that second, which is nothing but just, you can say it is string, and this second name is just pointing to that second string, third name is pointing to that third string, as well as fourth, and so on, as much we have. Now what if I need this first value? How can I call it? After a lot of code, if I need it, I will write just name 1, and I will see the first, let me move it, I will see the first name. What was basically the first name? En. No, I would have En, and I also came to know that this is basically the first name, and I don't need to see my array again and again to check what was the basically name1 and name2, name3. We can have, if I have name4, and you can see that in name4 I have WAL string. So this was basically the power of array destructuring, and you can see that this is initialized value. This is the initialized value, which is initialized by useState, and set value was the updated value, which updates that value which was first which was 1, and whenever the set value is called, no, it became 1 plus 5, no, its value became 6, and again whenever I call that set value, its value is again incremented by 5, and after that we will call it at 2 times, its value would become 11. So this was all about today, and now I hope you understood that what is basically hooks and how the structure of hooks came into existence, and how the value of hooks is initialized and updated. And I have also told you that how the value is updated and why we needed hooks in React.js. Now I suppose that you came to know very well that what was basically the hooks concept, and in the next video we will see a challenge in hooks. And believe me, hooks is extensively used in React.js and plays a crucial role in React.js. So you must know about these hooks if you want to be a React.js developer.